Hi, I'm going to share some strategies that you can use in your classroom to help build number sense and fluency. Number sense is essentially referring to a student's fluidity and flexibility with numbers. He or she has sense of what numbers mean, understands the relationship to one another, and is able to perform mental math, understand symbolic representations, and can use those numbers in real-world situations. It basically means working with numbers and understanding how they relate to one another. Do your students ever get test anxiety? Try building mathematical mindsets instead. Get away from the timed tests and really get students to understand how numbers work. We do this through conceptual mathematical activities and by helping students understand numbers and number facts. Researchers have found that the most powerful learning occurs when we use different pathways in our brain. So here's a diagram of our brain. The left side is taking care of technical and factual information, while the right side handles visual and spatial. We have found that mathematics learning and performance are optimized when the two sides of the brain are communicating. This is a great example of how that works. In this activity, students roll 2 dice and find the product. This analyzing of the numbers is using the left side of the brain. Then, students draw an array to represent the answer. They are now using the right side of their brain by visualizing how the answer looks or how the array looks and using their spatial reasoning to put it on their paper. What research tells us is that students understand more complex functions when they have number sense and deep understanding of numerical principles, not blind memorization or fast recall. So no longer are we focusing on students quickly knowing the multiplication problem, but are they understanding what that multiplication problem represents? One way we can do this is through math cards. So while they look like flashcards, they're set up a little differently. In this case, they are not timed. Students match answers on the cards without worrying about their speed. After they find a match, students should be able to explain how they know the cards are equivalent. I really like this example because it gets them thinking about numbers in a lot of different ways. So we have 36 as a number, we have it 9 times 4, we have 4 times 9, and then we have this visual representation to show that it's 9 groups of 4, or if they were really thinking about it in a different way, they might say it's 8 groups of 4 with 1 more 4 added. The more we emphasize memorization to students, the less willing they become to think about numbers and their relations and to use and develop number sense. Here are some different flashcards that you might be able to use in your classroom. So one thing that I like about these cards is that focuses on subitizing. Subitizing is when students are able to see a number quickly in multiple ways. So for example, when they look at this, they know that this is 9. They know that this is 9 on a 10 frame, and this is 9. Rather than counting 1, 2, 3, 4 until they get to 9, they can quickly notice and recognize 9. One thing that I like about this as well is that it's using a 5 frame. Sometimes teachers skip showing the 5 frame, but it's very necessary for students to recognize 5 quickly instead of always counting up. Here's another example of some flashcards. And in this situation, again, they're using the 5 frame in the middle, and then they are adding whatever is on the outside. So we have 3, we add 1, 3 plus 1 quickly they know is 4. 3, add 2, 3 plus 2 is 5. 3, add 3 is 6. Okay, they would look at this and notice I have to fill in 2 more spaces here, and then it would start a new 5 frame, and that would be 6. The idea is that they are looking at these numbers and working with them instead of each time starting 3 plus 1 and starting here 1, 2, 3, and then 1 more would be 4. Flippity flashcards is another way that students can practice their flashcards, but independently and again without being timed. So students are shown these flashcards. They can do these on a tablet or on their computer, whatever you might have. You could also do this whole group if you would like. There's the problem, they think about the answer, and then they can check their answer right here. 4 times 10, and then they can check their answer. There's also a sound that you could use if you want the kids to hear the numbers being read. Rolling dice. Dice are a fantastic tool to have in your classroom. They're easy, the kids love to play with them, and there are so many different uses for them. So here we have an example. Students can simply roll the dice and just write what the number is. They could find the sum, they could find the difference, they could find the product, they could compare the numbers. In this one, they are creating number bonds with the dice. They are using them on a number line when they make fractions. So there are a lot of different applications for those problems, and each time they are continuing to work on their number sense because they are thinking about how the numbers relate to one another, and they are having practice without the stress of being timed. That is the key. Number Talks is a really fun way to get kids thinking about numbers and how they work together. So Number Talks build number sense by turning the students' role upside down. Now they are to explain what they think rather than waiting for us to explain. So in this case, our problem is, what is 23 minus 9? You might present this to your students and have them really think about it and talk about it with a partner. Have them explain it, have them write it down. Perhaps they need to draw a picture. The key is to get them thinking and to get them talking about it. Remember, never say something a kid could say. So give them time to generate their own ideas and their own suggestions before we step in and show them how we might solve it. This is where they develop that number sense by figuring it out on their own and playing with numbers. That's what it's all about. Math placemats are a great tool to use if you have some time in between some classes. Maybe you have some time in the morning when the kids are just getting into school and they need something to work on, or maybe kids get finished early and they might go to these activity centers to have something to do. You can click on these links and they will show you multiple uses for them. These are just two examples. The one on the left would be mostly used for pre-K or kindergarten. You simply put a number in here, say you put the number 5, and then you could practice writing the number 5, coloring in a 10 frame with 5, writing the number, shading and symbols. This would be for an older group, perhaps 3rd grade, 4th grade, and you could use numbers to make fractions. And it could just be something where they are practicing what those numbers look like. Clothesline math is a very fun activity, and it could reach many different age levels. This particular group is kindergarten, and they are using these cards. This is actually my daughter Lila, and she was excited to show the kids how to use this. So basically what you do with the clothesline cards, and I'll show you, here are some examples. You cut apart the cards, you would separate the kids into small groups, and each kid would have a set of cards, and then they work together to sort them based on whatever the answer is. So here are some subtraction ones that you could use. There's also addition, there's multiplication ones, depending on which ones you look at. But the students would then put them in order. So if you can see in this picture, we have 2 plus 3 is 5, 4 plus 1 is also 5, so they see some cards that are equivalent. 1 plus 3 is 4 and 0 plus 4 is 4, and they work together to make sure that they are in the correct order, talking about what they see and thinking about those numbers. It is fairly easy to convince yourself or a friend, but you need high levels of reasoning to convince a skeptic. So in this activity, students need to convince a peer why they think something is true. So examples, convince me that 2/3 of a sandwich is equivalent to 4/6 of a sandwich. So what would they do? Maybe they are going to draw a picture. Maybe they would show you in a formula. But students need to be able to have enough understanding of the problem and be able to explain with enough reasoning what is happening in that. Researchers found an important difference between the low and high achieving students. The high achieving students used number sense. They interacted with the numbers flexibly and conceptually. It's not that these students are fast at math, it's that they understand the numbers and how they interact. If you get a chance, you might want to watch this clip by Jo Boaler. She talks about number sense in a little bit more depth. These are some extra resources if you would like some other games and whatnot to utilize. And these are my references. Thanks so much for listening.